Welcome to the William Penn School District Property Committee of October 3rd, 2023. My name is Jan Tong. I'm Property Chair. This evening, we will be going over Facilities Master Plan updates by KCBA regarding some of our schools. We will then discuss the athletic complex name and review some recommended actions for board meetings. I'm going to turn the floor over to Bob to get us started with the presentation.
Sure. Thanks, Jan. So as you can see, this slide demonstrates exactly what Jan had mentioned for our agenda for tonight. So the first item on the agenda is the facilities master plan. So I'm going to turn it over to Ryan. I don't know if you want to take over and share your screen so you can drive.
Absolutely, and actually, I'll let Mike Kelly start us off on introduction here real quick.
Evening, everyone. I think it's Ryan's going to be sharing the screen. Excuse me, as Janet said, we want to give just a quick update of the two elementary school projects, as well as the quick updates on Green Ave and Cypress. So go ahead, Ryan. Kick us off to the first slide there. Staying on schedule with the facilities master plan schedule that we had looked at in the past, that kind of 10-year high school focused plan here, where Kerrfield is completed, Evans and East Lansdowne are moving forward. We're talking with the district about some early improvements at Bell Ave, possibly an elevator addition there. And we're well on our way with the design of Cypress and Green Ave. The goal there is for both of those projects to be completed in August, summer of 2027. We have been providing the district with monthly updates. This is, I think, the latest one from September there from our man in the field, Jim Meisler. So again, the board has been getting these updates. If you want to go to the next slide there. All of that summer work has been completed. There was a lot. We're kind of in that center phase now during the school year, where some behind the scenes things are being constructed, mainly down in the basement things are being constructed. Elevator shafts, elevators, things like that are being installed. The mechanical equipment is on time to be delivered in January, with the hopes to start installing some of that second shift in the spring, and finishing up both of those schools in next summer. So go ahead. So on budget, we had shown, this is kind of an update of what we were looking at before. We saw that obviously the bids came in very favorably. We have quite a lot of contingency as well as allowance money that's available for construction. Very little of that has been used to date. So this is just kind of a snapshot of the budget analysis of both those projects, trending very, very well and still very much under budget, which is great. So the next steps for Cypress and Green Ave, we did do a process of looking for grant funding through a federal grant for renewing America's schools. We received a grant for the work that we're looking to do at Cypress, actually the only one in Pennsylvania. So well done to the grant writing team and all the efforts of works of certainly Bob and Dr. Becoats from the district as well. So we're looking now and moving ahead with creating building committees for both of those projects, continuing to move forward with the design of both. We met with our civil engineer today to start the land development process. So the conceptual ideas of both of these projects are starting to become much more reality now as surveys are completed, and the beginning of construction documentation and formal municipality reviews will start being undertaken soon. Go ahead.
So
Go ahead, Ryan, if you,
yep. as you can see on the screen, that timeline, we're ending the preliminary design process here for now focusing on Green Avenue. We'll be moving into construction documents here shortly from October to May. Then, in the late summer, early fall time period, bidding and then awarding, and then construction continuing through the end of 24 through 27. So that's still the schedule to remain. So we wanted to give everyone a little bit of an update of where we're at with the design of Green Avenue. So here you can see in the center of your screen the existing high school building, main entry to the east on Green Avenue, athletic entry to the north along Essex. And you can see the two fields on either side. At one point, there was discussion of building a building on the east side of Green Avenue. Right now, the current thought process is to build that new addition to the west at the rear of the existing high school building. And we'll have a few renderings here in a second to kind of show you how this comes to fruition. But some items on the site: new tennis court, a ring road with additional parking, and really improving the site circulation for the districts and students and visitors arriving to the site. This also would include a new main entry off of Essex Avenue to provide accessible means into the school as well. So a view there from the corner of Green Avenue in Essex. Really, the facade on Green Avenue would remain untouched for the most part, leaving its historic nature. But we would be building a new stair tower, as well as improving some of the existing features of the current auxiliary gym. And then you can see to the right-hand side down Essex Avenue, that's where the main addition would be. And this is a view of that new main addition. This is a large gymnasium, currently scheduled to house 2,000 seats for PIAA tournaments, as well as plenty of space for physical education curriculum during the day. And right in the center between the existing main gymnasium and the new gymnasium would be that new front entry, secure vestibule, admin spaces, nurse suite. This is where visitors would come to check in during the day. On the back of the building, on the field where the main portion of that addition would be, is lots of academics. So 3 stories of academics, including science rooms, tech spaces, STEM spaces, art spaces, a lot of the larger spaces that aren't included in the existing building now. We're able to build those and incorporate those into the new addition, since we're starting over and don't have a structural bay grid to limit ourselves. Also, part of this addition would be new cafeteria, kitchen. So really those larger spaces we're able to incorporate. So this is one idea in the center of that addition, would be the idea of a lower commons. So this common space would go all 3 floors, allow for a central area for additional teaching spaces, presentations, high visibility of those STEM and tech spaces, as well as guidance and business and remote administration pieces within the building. This is from the upper commons looking back down to where we were just standing. So once again, lots of visibility, lots of collaboration, and opportunities for students. Part of this project is also improving the existing building. So part of that is creating additional connections between the new addition, which is behind you in this image, and the existing building, which is ahead of you in this image. So this would be a connection on the upper floor of the existing building, which would connect back to the new addition, providing large circulation corridors for students, faculty, staff to migrate through the building. Again, as mentioned, new cafeteria, serving, kitchen, lots of space for that to happen and occur. As we know, we're bringing 9th grade into the school. We know we need to accommodate lots of students for eating. So here's a quick animation. Existing facade of Green Avenue. you can see most of that is largely remaining the same. You can see those new pieces pop on there. As they pop off, this is what the existing main gymnasium and athletic entry looks like. You can see the existing field. And then now we've turned on the proposed addition. So new entry there along with large main gymnasium and then those academic spaces in the back. As we enter that new main entry to the left, administration, secure vestibule, and then you're greeted by both academics and athletics, a view into the existing main gymnasium, a view over to the new larger gymnasium, as well as surrounded by STEM spaces, art spaces, and library. As we move into the lower commons that we showed you before, the existing library can spill out into the commons. And we have lots of connections between classrooms and STEM spaces and larger group gathering spaces as the heart of the school now. As an overlook of that main entry space again, you can see the library relocates to the over and above admin. And then finally, a view of that cafeteria space. So that's the update on the Green Avenue design. Cypress, as Mike mentioned, also in progress. Also lots of ideas here in addition to receiving that grant, working through with civil engineers and also preparing for construction documentation and then future bidding, awarding, and construction. So this is much of a similar idea to what was shown for the grant. So existing building, Evans on the left-hand side, to the west, Penwood High School, the 9th grade center currently to the right. And again, this is much smaller addition project. There's a lot of capacity in this building, so a lot of it's going to be renovation, but some small addition here with the idea of some additional parking. So still lots to be to work on there and discuss with that building committee, but it is in progress. So with that, we can go to any questions. I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Ryan. Do any board members have any questions for Ryan or Mike regarding the plans?
On the high school, is it there anything that will affect the residents in that area? The building of, existing building, will renovating that affect the residents near there?
Well, hopefully they like what we are proposing there. But like any large project comes some change. So as we start to develop the design a little further, working with the board and making sure that this is something that the school district is advocating for, working with the borough there to make sure this is something that they will support and provide the approval process. Then there's opportunities to meet with neighbors, meet with community members, answer their questions as well. Again, oftentimes, people go, "Wow, that looks really nice. This is a great investment for the community." And we can certainly answer anybody's questions who may think otherwise, let's say on that street, or have questions about, the construction process, trucks, deliveries, dump trucks, backhoes, things like that. They're going to be certainly on site for, the good portion of 2 years. So the answer there is we're going to be working with you and the community to make sure that the construction process and certainly the end result is favorable for everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Ms. Richardson. Anyone else? Any other board members have questions for Ryan or Mike? Not seeing any, does the public have any questions for the group?
Not seeing any, Jen.
Thank you. Okay. Mike and Ryan, I do have a question. I just want to, you know, because Green Avenue has experienced lots of flooding when there's an excess of rain and things like that. The lower level always gets inundated with water. Have we considered that in our new plan? And is there any kind of remediation that we've place in there while we're working? Better sump pumps,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah, we talked about that very issue today with our site engineers. So that's the first thing they'll be looking at is to see if the piping and the drainage that's there now is adequate even for what's there now. And certainly what the repercussions are of building, a larger building on the other side. We're well aware that there's flooding issues in the lower level of the existing building, which is why we're not going to have a lower level in the new building. And certainly that building is going to be up much higher than where the field elevation is right now. So we certainly are aware of that concern, and that'll be a high priority in the site design.
Excellent. And then, for our folks who are joining, the traffic on Essex, if parents are dropping off kids or coming to the office, is there space for them to, stop for a few minutes while they're inside so that they don't obstruct the flow of traffic there on the street?
Yeah, we looked at that as well, and that's something we're going to have to work out with the borough, the engineers, and the district, because oftentimes the goal is to kind of keep buses away from cars. So there's a lot of different solutions, but if one is, hey, let's put all the buses on Green Ave, and Essex is only for cars, is there sufficient area for people to pull over and pick up their child? Is there sufficient parking during the day if somebody's coming, just for a meeting with the principal or something like that? So all of those things will be studied and big part again of the site design.
Thank you. And then, as we've made it a priority for the district, with these new additions and with the renovation to the older building, have we addressed folks with mobility issues accessing the building as well as moving through the existing building?
Yes, there are a lot of levels in the existing building. And I'm sure Ryan is smiling back in the office as I say that. So just the idea of, okay, where do we put the new building? What level do we want to attach this to? And then what does it mean for all the other levels? Was a key part of the design of that building. So we are looking to find every opportunity for inclusion throughout the building. Because of the size of the project, it's the entire complex will need to meet full ADA compliance requirements. So at-grade access going into the existing building. I think we're showing as many as 3 elevators would be part of the makeup of the larger complex. So every space will be accessible. Every space will be code compliant as well, from restrooms to sinks in the closets, and every child, every visitor to that building will have the same opportunity regardless of physical needs.
Excellent. And as I've been pondering this, with all of these new components and features that we're putting into the district, I hope that these things attract more students in the neighborhood to come back. If that does be the case, will there be sufficient space to accommodate the students coming back, and not just at the high school, but at all the other buildings as well, because they would work through all the buildings to get to the high school. That's the hope.
Yeah, and we have to make sure we plan for that, because I would hope as well, and certainly expect that there could be an influx of students coming back into the district. So we are planning for far more than students than you have now. Hopefully anticipating that type of growth. So the ability to adequately service not only the students that you have now, but many more hopefully to come in the future. that the building and the occupancy and capacity of that will be ready to service those students.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Ryan. Any other questions from the board members before I move on to our next topic? Not seeing any. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time tonight,
Thank you
and
very
have a
much.
great night.
You too. Take care.
Thank you. Have a good night.
So then I'm going to turn it over to Bob to take us to the next component within our agenda, the athletic complex update.
Yep. So the athletic complex update, I just wanted to give a status update of the punch list items that still remain. This list was compiled midway through last week, so things are changing daily. So if you might be different tomorrow. But the men's bathroom is under repair due to a plumbing issue discovered at last week's game. Same thing with the home team bathroom and the away team bathroom. The exhaust fan has been installed. PA speakers for the home side has been completed. And the away side and baseball stadium PA system will be installed this week. I believe it's actually going in tomorrow if it hasn't been done already. The water fountain has been installed. Temporary Wi-Fi connection has been installed for the security cameras, and the full fiber will be completed in January due to permitting delays. But we will be fully functional with a temporary solution at the moment. Does anybody have any questions related to the current Kerr Field punch list?
These are not change orders, are they? Are they just part of
No.
completion?
Yeah, just the like little things that we want to make sure
Okay.
that get wrapped up before they leave the site. We're kind of just checking in on and making sure everything's as perfect as possible before they leave, because once they leave, it's difficult to get the things that you missed completed in general, not with this company in particular.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these are items that were discovered to not be installed properly, or something got damaged in the installation or something along the way, and we're discovering them through our soft opening, and so they're addressing them before we say thank you very much to them.
Okay.
Yeah, and a lot of them have been self-identified too. It's not like we're going in and they're trying to leave. So it's a working list between us and the contractor to make sure they leave it in as good a shape as possible.
All right, excellent.
All right.
I don't see anything else. I just ask one more time. Are there any more questions from board members regarding the list? Okay. So now I'm gonna move on, transition to our next topic of discussion. The potential renaming of the athletic complex. Currently, the administration would like to see the complex renamed, or at least potentially renamed. The current recommendation to that is the Rap Curry Athletic Complex at Kerr. We know that Dr. Bicos has reached out to both families and have had an ongoing discussion with them. But we want to ensure that the public has their chance to voice their opinion. We want also the families to voice their opinion, and the schools and citizens to voice their opinions. So we want to hear everyone. I'm going to open the floor to the board members first to see their thoughts, and then we'll open it up to general members. Any board members have any thoughts that they want to share regarding the current recommendation, which is the Rap Curry Athletic Complex at Kerr Field? Bob, do you see any?
I do not.
Okay. I am going to open the floor to our attendees attendees, if you just raise your hand if you would like to speak. Bob will give you the floor.
Okay, I see Rohan has raised their hand. Deirdre, could you let them speak, please? Okay, you have the floor.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
You can't see me though, can you?
We cannot.
Okay. All right. My name's Rowan Hepkins. I'm the mayor of Yaden Borough. And I did have a talk with Dr. B. Coates about 2 weeks ago about the possible naming of the field. First, let me say that I think it's a noble idea with who Rap Curry is and his contributions to the William Penn School District. But I don't think it would be the best idea of doing that. There are a couple of different reasons. You have other athletes of notoriety like Leroy Burrell, who is an Olympian and put us on the map as far as sports is concerned. And how do we make that type of decision? The other reason, and probably more compelling, is that Kerr Field was so named because everybody knows William T. Kerr was instrumental in catapulting Yaden, Delaware County, and Pennsylvania on the map, and lobbying every American president from William T. McKinley to President Truman to have the flag recognized with its own day. He was invited as a Yadenite. He was born in Pittsburgh, moved here Yaden, lived behind that field on Cypress Street for over 50 years. And he was invited by then President Truman to have that legislation signed on the White House lawn in 1949. And ironically, next year will be the 75th anniversary of Flag Day. So Kerr Field was aptly named for him. And as far as you're going to be replacing a national hero and someone of national significance that catapulted Delaware County, who lived there for 50 years, lived here, with a local hero. And I don't think that there's like a moral equivalency here. You could go on Wikipedia, any encyclopedia, any Google, and you could see William T. Kerr catapulted Yaden, catapulted the William Penn School District, catapulted Delaware County, catapulted Pennsylvania in the annals of history. So in closing, the three main significant factors, historical factors, where the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania is on the forefront of the flag. You have the first flag made, it's been disputed, but credited to Betsy Ross in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You have the flag renedicated, renewed in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, where then President Lincoln came here by train and delivered the Gettysburg Address in that decisive Civil War, and renewed the flag and renewed the country and united the country under the flag, not the Confederate flag, but the United States of America flag. And then thirdly, you have in the annals of the Commonwealth, William T. Kerr, who went one better, one further, and cemented the flag with its own recognized day or holiday. And he was credited with that by naming that field where he lived right behind his Flag Day. We shoot ourselves in the foot if we under-recognize or try to supersede that, which cannot be superseded by anything that we're discussing. So I'm for recognizing Rap Curry. I count him as a friend. I count his wife, his widow, Gina Curry, as a friend. But I would subscribe to another way of recognizing him, another part of the field. I would maybe even combining the name, Kerr Curry name. I don't know, but I wouldn't. I think we shoot ourselves in the foot if we totally try to supersede that because of a feel-good moment of something that is noble. I think it's a great concept. So I'm not throwing cold water on it, but I think we have to think twice and further if we just willy-nilly, just because of a good thing, a good moment, just change the name. And when does this end? So I've heard some people say that, what about Leroy Burrell? Or what happens if another great athlete comes, another Michael Jordan? Do we wipe his name off and rename it as well? So I think some things are sacrosanct, and if it's in a sacrosanct area of what someone contributed, we can't just in the feel-good moment just go along and say, "Hey, we just want to do this right now." We got to look at the history. We got to look at everything, and it's not about the family. I like his family, but it's not about his family. It's about him, what he represented to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, what he represented to Delaware County, and in fact, the William Penn School District and Yeadon in particular, when this crusade was finally recognized after a lifetime of having that recognition. And he lived right behind that field, right on Cypress Street. So that I would advise the board or suggest to the board to consider that. Yeah, you could change the name, but this is what you'll be changing. And this would be the ramification. We'll be shooting ourselves in the foot and underappreciated someone who catapulted the state of Pennsylvania in the National Archives. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mayor Hepkins. Are there any other, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mayor Hepkins. That was very thoughtful, and I think that's information. Some of it is new to me, but I know that that is William T. Kerr is an important historical figure in Delaware County and Yeadon. So I appreciate that information for our folks to consider. Are there any other participants who would like to speak?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, I see Ms. Cook Henry. Go ahead.
this is a question and part of my voice for this evening. Can you repeat the recommended name for the complex as I understand it, and the field, Kerr Field, as I understand it, is not being changed? Is that correct?
That is correct. That is correct. The current recommendation would be the Rap Curry Athletic Complex at Kerr Field.
Thank you. So just making sure that I'm still up to date to what the recommendation is and hearing the concerns expressed by our mayor. There is no change to the Kerr Field. We are naming the complex. Correct?
That is correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
Can I
Any
comment?
other? Yes, go ahead, Mayor Hep.
Yeah, well, I stand corrected. I have no problems if this is being called, like I said, a combination of names or such. If it's the Rap Curry Athletic Complex at Kerr Field, I have no problems with that. Because,
Okay.
like I said, we'd be able to recognize both. And like I said, I'm not against Rap Curry is a significant figure okay, in the annals of Warren Penn School District, who made us proud. So recognizing him, I would be for that, but not at the expense of eliminating the Kerr name for the field. So and thank you for Ms. Cook Henry for that clarification. If it's as it were, as you proposed, I have no problems with that.
I think,
I just thought that it might, from your communication this evening and our conversation previously, I just think if we slow down and we did, I thought that this would be something based on our conversation that would be open or acceptable in honoring and continuing to honor both men that made contributions to our community.
And I would totally agree and concur with that. I stand corrected. I thought the name was being replaced. So I really appreciate that clarification. I think that's a very good idea and way to go, where both local heroes could be appropriately honored. And that combination of names, I think, is very acceptable and very salient. So I would concur with that, and I think it would do everyone and all parties justice.
thank you. And I think that was partly my fault, trying to read the name, and I might have jumbled it. But from, just some context, Mayor, the administration has seen that, they did not want to change the current name, but at the same time, we did put a new complex and they wanted to name the
That's fine.
complex.
That's totally valid and fine and appropriate. I'm just, that's why we have discussions, right?
That is correct. And, I want to engage the public, to allay any fears, because,
Yeah.
as you shared that wonderful history lesson, there are some things that I did not realize that he, campaigned as long as he did. But, I did know he was instrumental in getting Flag Day implemented, but I did not know it was over so many presidents. And,
Yeah. You
and,
can look
and
it up
with that, right. And with that, I did not want to also, as you shared, did not want to lessen the gravity of the name there. But at the same time, we also are putting on a new facility there where we're trying to, honor both men at the same time.
I think this is a good, well thought out way of doing it. And I have absolutely as mayor of this town and as a 42-year resident of Yaden, no problems, no qualms with this, no qualms. I think that's an excellent idea, the way in which it's been proposed. The Rap Curry Athletic Complex at Kerr Field is totally good, totally fine. I have no qualms.
Excellent. So we have your vote for this name. Excellent.
Yeah, as it were, as it is. Yeah, as it is.
Awesome.
Yes.
Are there other participants? I don't want to, minimize anybody else. I want to make sure everyone gets heard. So are there any other folks that wanted to share their thoughts or comment?
Looks like we have a Leon Howard that has their hand raised.
Okay. Can we get Mr. Howard on?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Howard.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for giving me a quick minute. I think Mrs. Henry pretty much summed it up to get the facts straight on the suggestions that have been made. And I think it is reversed. If you look at other complexes and they have multiple sports facilities, it's the Rap Curry Athletic Complex, and it would be at Kerr Field at the complex because it has football, it has soccer, it has track and field, it has softball and baseball diamonds, and then the football field itself. So I think the name would be, if you're saying, oh, where's the football game? It's Kerr Field at the Rap Curry Athletic Complex, not vice versa. So just that suggestion as well. But again, the clarification and to the comments from our dear mayor, just to make sure, I think it was never the idea of taking Kerr away, still recognizing his greatness, but at the same time, this particular vision that has come to pass for this complex definitely needs to be represented, and this legacy needs to live on. The Rap Curry Athletic Complex and Kerr Field at the complex, I think, is the correct term. I could be wrong, but I think if you look at some stadiums and stuff like that, it could be the Johnson Stadium, or I should say Johnson Field at the Edwards Stadium. I think the name and how everything goes is in that flow. So just wanted to make that comment, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mr. Howard, for that input. We'll take that under advisement. Any other thoughts or comments from the public? Bob, I can't see the screen.
I'm seeing none. Sorry, I was giving everybody a moment.
Okay. No
I,
worries.
Mr.
I,
Henry,
I would just have to say that Mr. Howard, initially, I struggled with the sequence in that naming, but having had conversations with our current board president and then investigating and looking at the naming of other fields, I've become very comfortable with the sequencing in this current recommendation. Initially, I struggled with it, so I hear you.
And I think in my mind, when you're talking about larger, smaller to larger, my mind is the athletic complex is the smaller component as opposed to Kerr Field. So we're talking about the Rap Curry Athletic Complex at Kerr Field, because Kerr Field is the bigger element. That's my thinking, to go along with your thoughts there, Miss Val. I that's how I worked out in my own head the sequencing.
Well, I'm going to just leave it at
As
I'm
is.
comfortable with the sequence, but I struggle with what I felt may be more prominent. And so whatever the case may be, the feel, the flow, and the homework done suggests for me that the Rap Curry Complex at Kerr Field works for me. So as that is recommended, that's what would have my vote for the upcoming board. So I'm good with that.
Thank you, Ms. Val. Mr. Howard, you have any thoughts on that?
No, I would just say, and I understand the flow, but just with a complex, that means there's multiple facilities. That's the only reason why I was saying, if they were saying, where's the game, it's at Kerr Field at the Rap Curry Athletic Complex. But nonetheless, that's not a big issue, but just the flow and what I've seen with some universities that have a stadium, but the field or the court is named after someone else. So that's fine.
Okay, I hear you. I think I get it.
Yeah.
I think I get it. I mean, technically, we could also break up the various components and name them too, but it's still Kerr.
Yeah. Can I make another comment? Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yeah, I think Leon Howard's, I know him well, and his contributions to our young people in the YEA, and that suggestion is a good suggestion, but I would, I guess, gravitate to our board rep, Yaden board rep, Ms. Cook Henry. I think I would see to her recommendation, because she has studied that, and she just brought up a good point in other naming recognition or whatever, naming, sequencing. as long as the Kerr name is there alongside of, and however you want to disperse it or name it, I'm fine with either or. But I would see. I think she represents us well. I think Ms. Cook Henry has done her homework, and I would concur with to whatever her recommendation is as your mayor as well. So I want you to know that. But I think the discussion is good, and I appreciate you bringing that up, Mr. Howard.
Awesome. Thank you, gentlemen, for your thoughts. Do we have any other folks who want to share? Bob?
Every Jan.
Yes, Jan, it's Wadia.
Hey, Wadia.
How are you? Okay, so I do want to say that we did discuss the order, and I would say I do agree when you are with what Mr. Howard said. An athletic complex encompasses everything, and Kerr Field is what was there is the football field. So when you call it a complex, I know in our discussions, it encompassed everything, all of our facilities. And Kerr Field is the field itself. So I'm not sure where the lines got confused. I'm not sure where it switched to the other way. But if you are to search a complex, it includes every facility, every field. So that is something we do need to look at before we put it to the board. I think we might just need to do a little homework on what a complex is versus what a field is, because the way it reads, it's backwards.
Okay. So you're supposing that the Kerr Field is the football field and the Rapp
No.
Athletic Complex is
No. What was discussed before, it was the Rapp Curry Athletic Complex. So Kerr Field sits in the Rapp Curry Complex. That's what my understanding with the discussion was. Kerr Field is a part of the Rapp Curry Complex, not the other way around. Because if we were to, Kerr Field is not the base, it does not encompass baseball, it does not encompass softball. But the complex does. So I think we just need to make sure we have our wording correct, because when you look up a complex, it includes everything. Kerr Field is Kerr Field, the football field.
So I know when I look up Kerr Field in Google Maps, it encompasses that entire space, all the green.
Right, but it's never been utilized.
We
never used
utilize it for soccer and softball and baseball.
But yeah, I think we need to do a little bit more research before we send this report to make sure and look at some other complexes. I think we just need to make sure we do our research to make sure complex versus field is in the correct order before we do that. That would be my recommendation.
Hello? I don't know if I lost everything.
Can you hear me?
I heard you, Miss Ivory.
Okay.
I don't know if Jan maybe cut out.
Can you hear me, Bob?
I can, Jan, yes.
All right. I can't hear you. I see you talking. I think you hear me.
Yes.
It's on my end then. I can't participate in the discussion at this point because I can't hear you guys. But that's okay. Bob, can you take over for a minute while I see if I can figure out how to get back on?
Sure. So I could say that we can do some additional research before we put it on the agenda for the committee of the whole meeting, Miss Ivory, and then if we need to participate in some more discussion, I think we could do it then, if that makes sense to you.
Okay, thank you.
Bob, I think since we have a recommendation,
Mhm.
that as you said, that we do a little more research because all the board members, to discuss that with all the board members and see what we come up with before we make a recommendation to.
Sure. So this was just the administration recommendation to get the conversation started. So obviously, if the board would like the naming convention to be in the reverse, that's certainly what the board can vote on. But we had to start somewhere. But so yes, so when we put the agenda together, we can start with this recommendation unless our research changes it, and then again we can have more discussion and change it before the final vote. That's always possible. But we'll definitely do the additional legwork and look at other complexes to make sure that the naming convention makes sense.
Thank you, Bob. That helps. Do you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you, Y, for that. The additional homework never hurts. But again, the sequence scene, and to be quite honest, the at Kerr Field, I struggled with significantly early on, but based on some of the other stuff. So additional homework will help us be confident that this is something that we can all live with.
Thank you, Ms. Val.
And
And you know,
I'm sorry,
yeah,
just
go
real
ahead,
quick.
Mr. Howard. Nope.
Thinking
Go
in
ahead.
our local in South Philly, they call it what? The sports complex. You have Lincoln Financial Field. You have Citizens Bank Park. You have the Wachovia Center, all encompassed within the complex. So Mrs. Ivory was right on point, and maybe she clarified it a little better than what I was trying to say. But that's why I'm saying it's a complex that's holding a football field, a soccer field, a track and field, 8-lane track, softball, and baseball. So again, it's the field inside of the complex. So thank you again, Mrs. Ivory, for that. But that's just a local research we can look right in South Philly. So thank you again.
Any other thoughts?
Ms. Boykins has her hand raised, Jen.
Ms. Boykins?
Yes. I just wanted to comment and say, if you, okay, I understand what everyone's saying with regard to the Kerr Field coming first. But when you say the Rap Curry Athletic Complex at Kerr Field, that it is at Kerr Field. I understand what everyone's saying. The term necessarily doesn't fit appropriately because the Kerr Field is inside of the complex. Also, too, you do want to have something that flows as well. So I'm good either way on whatever we decide as a board. But I just wanted to also say the way that it sounds overall, like the Rap Curry Athletic Complex at Kerr Field, I get that, and I also get the other way as well. That's just like when you go to if you go to a basketball court, the floor might be named something differently. Like at St. Joe's, you might have a St. Joe's complex at Hogan Field. So it's different. The naming is however we would like it to be, but I'm good either way. Just wanted to chime in and say that.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Boykins. Anyone else? All right. I want to thank everyone.
You're breaking up a bit. We can now.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Oh boy.
Yes, we can, Mayor.
Yeah, I just want to thank the school board for hearing me out and for, huh? Can you hear me? Oh,
yes, we can.
Oh boy.
We can hear you, Mr. Mayor. Help me.
Reception. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank the school board for allowing me to contribute in the discussion. And again, for the record, either way you come up with, whatever the naming convention you come up with, I'm fine with. I'll leave that up to you as long as those two things are in order, those two names is as it were. So I really appreciate being heard and being allowed the time to give the significance of that history, which is something that I've studied and I've been, part of for many decades here. But thanks for hearing me out, and I'm very pleased with the discussion and what you've come up with, and either order is fine with me. But thank you. I just want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you for those comments, sir. And we appreciate your time as well. And we do want to make sure that we hear all of our constituents and make sure that we are doing right by everyone. Are there any other comments? We do have a couple of more things. I do want to end on time. Hearing none. Seeing none. All right, Bob, let's move forward.
Okay. So the final topic for tonight are the recommended actions for the board meeting. The first one is the motion to approve the bus patrol agreement. Bus patrol is the camera system that goes on the stop signs of the buses that activate when they put the stop sign out, and has the ability to ticket anybody that runs the stop sign. We hope it will serve as a deterrent to drivers being unsafe around our children while they're being picked up or dropped off by these buses. And we've spoken to all the chiefs, and they are on board with the idea, but obviously it would have to go to each borough's council to be approved. If this is a program we would like to implement, it would be at no cost to the district, not for the services or for the equipment and installation on the buses. The second item are 3 change orders for East Lansdowne and Evans, all of which were items that were not in the drawings that required additional work. I think the total of the 3 is about $60,000. But those change orders were in that budget document that were shown, so we're still well under budget. But they were things like the grading of the steps for East Lansdowne wasn't quite right in the original drawing, so they had to do 2 additional steps that were, I think they're like 30 feet long or something like that. So the additional cost that incurred, there was a chimney where the elevator shaft was going at East Lansdowne that they didn't know because it had been walled off, so that required additional demolition and repair for the structure. And then what was the third one? Evans. Darnell, do you remember what the third one was? The change order at Evans? I guess I can look.
I believe, Bob, it has something to do with the front entrance at Evans, if I'm not mistaken.
Double check. East Lansdowne. Yeah, I just want to make sure I'm factual. That sounds right. Oh, sorry. The Evans was the basement boiler, and the footings of the concrete footings of the front entrance had to be redone so that the structure would be sound when they poured the concrete. The chimney was in Evans. I apologize, it was not East Lansdowne. So I believe the total of those 3 items is around $60,000. About $70,000. And like I said, it was included in that budget figure that was previously presented by KCBA. So that's kind of what the motions are for this agenda, on top of, what our motion for the naming of, the concrete footings of the front entrance had to be redone so that the structure would be sound when they poured the concrete. The chimney was in Evans. So I believe the total of those 3 items is around $60,000. And like I said, it was included in that budget figure that was previously presented by KCBA. So that's kind of what the motions are for this agenda, on top of, what our motion for the the athletic complex, Kerr Field, and which way the board wants to go on which order. Are there any questions related to the proposed motions on the board agenda?
Hi, Bob. I just had one question about the
Sure.
bus patrol agreement. I know they say there's no cost to us, but this is
Mhm.
something that has to be installed onto the busing, the
Mhm.
existing buses, correct?
Yes.
Is the current fleet of busing, will they handle any buses that may not be capable of, I guess, holding this type of equipment? Or will the bus company try and put any additional repair costs onto us if something happens to their?
No.
Okay,
No, so all costs will be incurred by bus patrol to make sure all buses are fitted. And the way that they recoup that cost is their fee for service comes out of the tickets that are generated. So a small portion goes to them, and then the remainder is split between the school district and the borough in which the infraction incurred.
okay, thank you.
So
And-
that's essentially how they recoup that money. Mhm.
Okay, and in terms of, okay, so my next question would be, in terms of retrieving this information, if the police department is requesting retrieval,
Mhm.
will the bus company have an existing employee handle that process of retrieving the information? And again, would the bus company in turn say they have to hire additional staff, which increases the amount we're paying?
So that would all run through bus patrol. So not our contractor for a student, but bus patrol will actually be the manager of the system. So any requests for video or things, so the pictures will be generated with the ticket, but there will also be video that can be provided to the boroughs upon request. But
Okay.
that request would be made to bus patrol itself.
Bus
not
patrol.
the actual
Okay, so our hands would be totally free of that. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So, Bob, I do have a question. So we're mainly in the 6 boroughs, but what about buses that go to Philadelphia or Chester or whatever for those students that we bus out of our bounds? Or do we have
So-
to get permission for those, or how would we deal with those?
So they would just not be activated in those areas because of the low volume. It would be hard and difficult to get an agreement for just say one bus doing one route a day. Not hard. I mean, we could in theory, but it's we wanted to focus on, our most popular route, most concentrated routes, and then if the program works, we can expand from there and make sure and attempt to get additional townships, boroughs, and potentially the city to sign on.
Okay. Any other questions from other board members?
I just want to say that I am elated to hear of this agreement because I am near a school and I observe mornings that parents want to go around the bus with kids getting off. And I'm sitting there like, oh my goodness, I know this isn't happening. So I am just elated that this is coming into effect, and I hope it deter these drivers from wanting to go around the bus when they are unloading students. Even at, the stop signs, but right near the school, most of this happens. So I'm just elated to hear of this agreement between the police department and the school district.
Yeah, so this was one of Darnell's first initiatives that he wanted to bring on when he came. So I'd like to take credit, but that was a big driver by Darnell to go seek out and make sure that it was cost neutral and cost effective for us to implement this program. So thank you, Mr. Deans.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dean. Thank you.
And then
Excellent.
sorry, and like I said, the boroughs themselves still have to approve this agreement, but we wanted to, make sure we approved it on our end before we took it for formal approval over there.
Excellent. Are there any other questions? Because I know we're over a few minutes, but I don't want to cut anybody off, but I also want to respect everyone's time. thank you everyone for your time. We appreciate the thoughtful discussion. We will take all this information back, and the district will, think about this and do some additional homework, and we'll be back at the meeting of the whole to continue the discussion. All right. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.